Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie. This movie is directed by Emma Tammy, and the movie stars Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, and Matthew Lillard. Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games movies plays a guy named Mike, who's a young man who must take care of his little sister, and he's down in his luck and he can't seem to hold a job. It's not until an opportunity comes where he gets a chance to be a security guard at a closed down child's restaurant, much like Chuck E. Cheese. But what Mike doesn't know is that this restaurant holds a dark secret. Now, for those of you that don't know, Five Nights at Freddy's is a widely popular video game franchise. The concept of the game is you play an unnamed security guard who sits in a room and watches monitors, cameras, and regulates the power all night. That's it. And the animatronics, they come to life and try to kill you. So, for a very basic premise like that, I wanted this movie to have substance. I wanted there to be story. Unfortunately, Nic Cage came out with a movie about 2 years ago called Willy's Wonderland, which is the most basic form of the Five Nights at Freddy's story you can get. Nic Cage drinks energy drinks, kills evil animatronics. You really can't ask for much more than that. So I wanted Five Nights at Freddy's to up the ante. I wanted there to be story because this game franchise is like 5, 6, 7 games. It's got quite a few. And there's backstory. After you defeat each level, they tell you more of the story as you go on. There's little Easter eggs, things you can unlock, what have you. So there's a lot of substance here, and I figured that if they were going to try to fit all of this into an hour and a half, 2-hour movie, they would have to do more than just have a bunch of jump scares and scary robots. So, having seen the movie, I enjoyed it. This was better than I thought it was going to be. And here's why. Let me start with the acting in this movie. Now, there isn't a whole lot to say considering this is a horror movie, and you don't go to horror movies for character development, backstory, what have you, but it does help. So, this was the first time I'd seen Josh Hutcherson in a movie since The Hunger Games, so I wasn't sure what kind of character he was going to play. I didn't know if they were going to make him a one-note, brave, heroic character that steps up to the plate and saves people he cares about, or if they were going to give him a role that's down to earth, somebody you care about, somebody you can relate to. And I'm glad they gave his character more than just a security vest. They gave him backstory. He has a younger sister that he has to care for. They put her, I think, she's either on the spectrum in this movie, or she's rebellious, or she's very quiet. I'm not sure because they're not really clear about that. But she needs caring for. Josh Hutcherson as Mike, I liked him. They showed that he was this kid that was troubled, that had a hard time sleeping, that dealt with trauma in his past, which I'll get to later in the video. Also, Elizabeth Lail as a security guard. I think her name was Veronica. She plays someone who tries to help Mike when he needs it, who also patrols the area where the building takes place. And you have Matthew Lillard as a man who finds Mike this job at this place, and he's kind of like the narrator that gives the exposition as to what his job is, the history of the place, what have you. And it's nice to see Matthew Lillard again in a horror franchise. So, the character of Mike is fleshed out. And that's one thing I really liked about this movie was the lore, the story. It's not just a building with scary robots inside it. No, they give you a reason as to why the scary things are happening, the backstory. So you can kind of understand and go, okay, it's a little far-fetched because it's a horror movie, but it makes sense and there's reason for these things. And the movie is PG-13 because, after all, kids are the ones that play these games, so there isn't too much violence. There's enough bloodshed and there's enough scary moments to get the point across that, hey, these things are terrifying, but it didn't take full advantage of all the jump scares that happen in the game, where if you're not sure if you messed up or missed timing on something or didn't push a button in time, nothing happens. And then a character jumps out right in front of the screen and scares the crap out of you. I wish they did more of that, because aside from the scary atmosphere, jump scares, after all, are what help make horror movies. Now, one issue I did have with this movie involving the story, and it's one thing I don't care for in movies, where you have a character that has a very specific history, a very specific backstory that's exclusive to only them. Yet, the current narrative, the current storyline, the current thing they're doing in real time is like really involved and connected to that. That's what gets me a little. If this wasn't a movie, that wouldn't have happened. Like, that's too much of a coincidence that that connects to this. So, aside from that, I thought the movie was very well done. The lore and the backstory is what I wanted out of this movie. They had enough video game elements, including the opening credits where they used like this 8-bit animation and this creepy music that really set the tone for the movie. And I really liked that. Also, the special effects on these animatronics, the practical effects in some moments, CGI for others, they worked really well. You believed that this was a scary, haunted restaurant. And there weren't a lot of characters, so you didn't really lose track as to who's who. I would say another little knock on the movie I'd have is that I felt like the subplot of the aunt who kind of wants to take custody of the younger sister was just a little much. And I feel like if this is going to be a franchise, if they're going to make a sequel or two to this IP, I'm kind of curious as to what they're going to do. Are they going to make it to where other security guards go into this building or a building like it and then they have their own story? Or are they going to follow Mike moving forward? So I'm not quite sure what they are going to do in the future, but considering this is a franchise with a bunch of other different characters and animatronics, I'm looking forward to it. So because this movie differentiated itself from Willy's Wonderland, which I thought it was going to be a knock-up of, and it gave the character backstory, and they got some legit actors to be in this movie, I can't write this one off. So because of that, I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, a B-. So until next time, guys, see ya.